Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Brisker.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
And etc.
Now, Bears Etc. brought to you by Chevy Drives Chicago, the official truck partner of your Chicago Bears.
There's nothing like the drama of the setup of a potential game-winning kick. It's tense, there's doubt, there's fear from the fans depending on what side of the fence you're on. Sunday in Vegas, Daniel Carlson lined up from the 54, and his swing of the leg booted a ball that the right hand of edge rushing defender Josh Blackwell caught flush and stopped the Raiders from coming from behind to beat the Bears. Instead, it's the Bears who get out of town with a 25-24 win. And we discussed today with one of the premier kickers in NFL history and certainly the Bears' Super Bowl winning kicker, Kevin Butler, with Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. This is episode 174 of the Bears Etc. podcast, and this episode of Bears Etc. is brought to you by ChevyDriveChicago.com, the official truck of your Chicago Bears. Kevin, thanks for joining us. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, Jeff. I appreciate being here with you and Tom. And wow, what an ending to the game in Vegas. And as a kicker goes, I haven't seen a blocked field goal from the corner in quite a while, and it was really just an unbelievable play that Josh made. Not only to get around that corner, get around that up back without really getting jabbed or something, but the way he just leaped and stretched out and got a hand on it. I've got to know Josh over the years, and his father's married to a neighbor of ours, so I just wrote him right then. He's still out on the field. I just said that was an unbelievable play. I don't remember the last time I saw somebody block a field goal off the corner and just at the perfect time. So it was really proud of him.
He's down there from Georgia. I got to know him during the training camp. I spent like a half hour talking about his whole upbringing and whatnot and how he landed at Duke and whatnot and just carving out a great role for the Bears and special teams. And he's done it in many ways, but kind of cool that this was ironic that you know him as well. So you know the whole story.
Yeah, very proud of him, and just really a great story and a great family. So, you can see it in his character, and his work ethic is really, I think, what's separating him and giving him those other chances to hook on with a team, from the return he made last year on the punt return to that block this week. He is really making his presence known in the special teams, which is, a huge, huge area.
Just for the people that listen to the podcast, I don't know if I've ever called you Kevin. So when I refer to you as Butthead, it's affectionately known that that's what we call you. But, Butthead is all the years of kicking extra points and field goals for the Bears. I kind of was talking about the point of those two wing backs on the extra point and field goal protection team and how great of a wing protector McMichael was and how much pride he took in that position, because you got to have a certain amount of unique type of strength where you're strong enough to protect your inside gap, but you got enough power and punch in your right hand to really take that guy off course. And so when you look at Josh, a lot of it has to do on how you kind of look at tape and kind of figure out that position's strengths and weaknesses. And with a little key by the snapper, he got a great get off. And from that point, it was, leaping in the air, making that Superman effort. And then we leave the building with excitement.
Yeah, you know what? I was very lucky. I had McMichael there for a while. I had Wilbur Marshall at one point. I mean, these are guys that take pride in what they do anytime they're on the field, and you really have to. It's a game-changing moment. It's a scoring opportunity. When you miss, it's basically a turnover. So there's a lot of things that can happen. But Josh has been studying that film, and to be able to get just so close to that up back coming around the corner, and you just didn't see him get that hand out. Just like you said, Tom, you gotta protect the inside, and then you have to give that jab punch to the outside to keep that guy just a nanosecond off of what he's doing. And Josh just got it right around him. I mean, his numbers on the back of his jersey were brushing by that guy as he was leaping. And it was just something that really I got excited about. And it's not easy to do. I had a guy in in college, and I believe he was, you played against him in the national championship at Notre Dame, Terry Hogue, who played a long time for Philly. And he was one of the guys that could do that move effortlessly. And it's just gone to the wayside where, you get that push up the middle now. You got such big guys that can get up in the air. That seems to be the best way to block it. But there'll be a lot of teams going over that this week and probably pulling up Josh and showing their own team. This is what can happen if the up back doesn't get that one hand out.
All right, let me ask you a snapper question, because Scott Daly, the snapper for the Chicago Bears, noticed a little hitch in the snap of the snapper for the Raiders. As a kicker, and as many snaps as you've taken with a guy like Hilge and stuff, or all the snappers throughout your career, can you see the snapper's hands, whether you're in practice, whether you're just going through reps during the course of the week or on the game? Because that was the indicator that helped Josh get off the ball so quickly. As a snapper, can you see it? And if you did, would you try to change him?
Yeah, I think you do. You notice that. I noticed that in film, Tom. I wouldn't notice it during the game or even in practice, because you don't stare at that ball. You're really looking at your holder, and when his hands go up, then you're looking for that peripheral vision that ball's on the way. So the timing is more probably set with the holder, but as you're watching film, that would certainly come up. You don't want to give those things away to give the defense a chance to jump and to get off right at that point. So, to not make it very easy to time, that would be something that, the coaches should look at. The coaches shouldn't let their center do that. I think you see a lot of it now with just a regular play when the guard kind of is looking back at the quarterback, then reaches over and taps the center. Sometimes you can get a little cadence there. Like once he taps, it's 1-2, and then you go. You just got to break that up, and it goes the same on field goals and punts. You just don't want to get into a rhythm where you're giving the defense a little break to get a good start, because that can send everything spiraling down very quickly, as we saw.
When you choose a Blue Moon, everything becomes brighter, just like the scoreboard after a Bears touchdown. Blue Moon, made brighter, and a proud partner of the Chicago Bears. Celebrate responsibly, Chicago. Talking to Ben Johnson yesterday, play before the field goal attempt. It was Kevin Byard sneaking in there on 3rd and 1, dropping him for a 2-yard loss on the run. 2 yards make a difference. I mean, does it change? I don't know, because it's just, maybe it's just hovers over their head a bit. I thought I was going to kick from 51. Now I got to go from 54. I mean, maybe not. Yeah. Maybe yes.
You know what? I don't think it really, Jeff, too much with these guys nowadays. I mean, you look at the consistency they're having kicking longer field goals. I don't think the 2 yards is going to hit. Now, if maybe you get from 59 to 61, that kind of maybe works on you a little bit. But I think in that moment you're locked in already. You're expecting to go out there, and you're just going out there trying to stay in your routine, keep your head down. And make that perfect kick at that point. I think if you start to dissect it down and start going, I need to be on the left side or the right side, and things don't work out, that's where you really start to create your own doubt. And that's something that most of these kickers at the level they're at now keep those thoughts out of their mind. They stay true to what they need to be thinking, and that's just routine.
You mentioned the push up the middle. That's where my eyes seemingly have taken me, because there's a lot of length now. Even the Bears have a guy like Javon Dexter should be in that position to block field goals potentially at his size. But now it seems also there's an overload on one side, and trying to outnumber and just overwhelm one side to come off of the edge in some sense. It seems like an extraordinary amount for 1 month of the season to have this many block kicks. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. I don't think that, you got to look. The first thing when I look at kickers and deal with them at the University of Georgia, you want to look at two things. The things I look at is not even a look. I want to hear the guy kick. I want to hear that thump. I want him to to prove to me that he's got that power, and it is a good thump. You can almost feel it when you're standing there. And then the trajectory. I mean, that is the key to being a successful kicker. Anybody can kick it 60, 65 yards, but if they're not getting that proper height off the kick and getting it over that line, you're going to see a lot more of that. And, maybe kickers now are driving it a little bit more, not with that trajectory right off the kick, which is turning into more yards. But you've got to get it past that line of scrimmage, just like you're saying. And, when they override the left or the right side, they're just trying to create a gap so one of those guys can get maybe 1 or 2 yards upfield and then get that hand up and that little bit of a jump. That's all you need. You're looking at, from 7.5 to 8 yards from the line of scrimmage to the kicker. And you've got to, get that ball up. And the simple drills we do is, from 5 or 6 yards in front of the goalpost, making a good kick and making sure it gets above that goalpost from that close. So if that's a natural move for you and that's a natural trajectory, you're going to be in good shape if the guys up front, hold them for that really 2 seconds. You're talking 1.3 to 1.4 seconds from snap to kick. So it's happening pretty quick.
Butthead, when you started in the NFL, did you guys kick extra points and field goals, or at least field goals off of a kicking base?
Not in the NFL.
Okay.
At college, when I came out, I did use a tee in college. So my biggest challenge was kicking off the ground.
Right.
But I always did that in college. My had a good kicking coach at Georgia that every practice, the last kick in practice, I would have to kick it off the ground, because he'd look at me and goes, well, what if we can't find the tee and you need to go out there and kick? And I was like, yes, sir. And it really helped me. But, my soccer background made it easier. It wasn't something that concerned me. I went down to the Senior Bowl, and that's really where the Bears really got the first look at me in person. And I remember making 3 field goals with Frank Reich holding in the Senior Bowl, and all of a sudden I found myself being drafted by Chicago, and the rest is history.
Okay, so in recent history of the kicker, they had the change in the length of extra points and field goals, and now they got the new kickoff rule for kickoff in the NFL. The adjustment to the leg of a kicker, how long does it take to become? You take the mentality of the short extra points and now you lengthen them. And then you take the leg discipline that you have to have on kickoffs because of the landing area responsibility of the kicker. How long does that leg adjustment take for you to get used to the extra points and field goals, and then the discipline on kickoffs, not just being a banger, but a placer?
Yeah, I don't think it's too much of a big change, Tom. What I think most of these guys do, it's a mental thing on the extra point. I think, you go out there and the extra point, even, when it was where I was a 20-yarder, when it's a big extra point, you're a little bit more focused on it. But these guys now, you see some guys want to, shade it to the right a little bit, shade it to the left. I don't know what it's just maybe making them more comfortable. So that gives them a little bit of an advantage with the 33-yarder. But, at the end of the day, I just feel like if you get in that middle of the field, that's giving you the best chance to go a little right, a little left if you're moving the ball that way. But, for Soldier Field, I would – me, I was down there as much as I could. I practiced down there about every day that, I used to tell Coach Dick, I said, Lake Forest is fun, but it's nothing like Soldier Field. I need to be down there kicking. And that gave me the confidence and the confidence to go out there and, do your best. And sometimes it wasn't my best. And, you just had to fight through it. But I think the kickoff, you've really got to just do it to where your coach wants you and scheme that coverage, because I think that's the most dangerous thing. When you start moving that ball all around, guys have to be able to, hold their lane, keep their section of that field guarded. And, that was the one thing, like, from me, squib kicks were just, they would drive Coach Ditka crazy, and they would almost get me fired because you don't know where a squib kick is going. And I think at least now when they choose that kickoff, they're going to the right side, they're going to the left side. I don't think it's that hard for a kicker to put it in those spots. It just needs to be there, because when you miss that, you've already got the guys going at one spot. And if you don't hit that spot, that's when you can get really hurt on a kickoff return.
Would you like to play under the current kickoff rules? Would you be a dangerous kicker with the dirty ball and crafting like a wedge to get some trouble down there?
Well, I mean, you do whatever you do. I wouldn't mind it. I mean, I didn't mind tackling, and I'd never had a kickoff run back as a Chicago Bear. So that was one of my claim to fame. That's the only thing I think any kicker can't beat right now, because I was dumb enough to try to get my head in there and make tackles. And, Coach Ditka would go, "You need to kick it out the end zone." I go, "Well, you need to get some people out here to cover." Hell, I'm the one making the tackle and kicking. So
did you have 11 tackles one season?
I think I had 8 one season, Jeff. I think it was 8.
Because that's insane.
I'll go with 11 now.
That's
11
insane.
sounds better.
Tom, that's insane.
I always refer to Kevin Butler as the best tackling kicker I've ever played with. And I played with guys in the USFL like Frank Corral or Tony Zendejas and Butthead and Pete Stavanovich in Miami. So I always reference that, the tackle against Herschel Walker. That you made was one of the best.
Break it down for us.
Okay, Barry Sanders, Deion Sanders, Herschel Walker, Mel Gray. Who else was it? Those were the ones. Especially Detroit. We played them twice a year. I mean, that was always tough. They always had good returners. I mean, Barry, he was returning kickoffs when he was a rookie. So those are my fun pictures that I show. And that's when I lie to my grandkids and say, "You see, Butt was a football player."
Do you, honest to God, have framed pictures of those?
I do.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I do.
I think. I mean, Barry Sanders versus Deion Sanders. If you were to poll the folks, okay, well, who would be more difficult to tackle? You're talking. Well, it's a runaway train. So I'd be more nervous about Barry Sanders and those steel-belted thighs trying to bring him down than Deion. But I don't know. You tell me.
Well, I think I got to Barry early, because once he went out there as a tailback, Detroit smartened up and took him off of kickoff. So that was nice. But Deion, we were playing the Falcons, and we were winning. I believe it was 6-3, and Coach Ditka came up and said, "Squib it. Do not kick it to Deion." I went, "Perfect. I'll squib it." I squibbed it to the right, and that thing hit the ground, and it just started going left, and it went right to Deion. He grabbed it and ran to his sideline and did that famous loop back, and he came all the way back around, and I caught him going down our sideline, and we kind of went into the sideline over there, and I'm telling you, before we both could even get up, Ditka was on top of me yelling, going, "I told you not to kick it to him." And Deion's eyes were as big as mine were. He's like, "This guy's crazy." I was like, "I didn't mean to kick it to him." So that was, squibs can get you in trouble.
Score big at your local Chevy dealer. The Chevy Silverado will take you through this season in style. Chevy Drive Chicago, official truck partner of the Chicago Bears.
Well, the whole onside kick dilemma. So now you got to give forewarning that you're about to onside kick, rather than back in the day that you could try to pull off a trick shot, or if you notice that the team is vulnerable to guys leaving early and stuff. So now as an ex-kicker and you have to teach an onside kick, what is your thought process in saying, okay, now that we're going to let these guys know what we're going to do, what style of onside kick would you try to teach an NFL kicker?
That's a good question, Tom. Because the onside kick, they've made it just almost impossible. With all the protection. We've talked about it, and I've talked about it with Coach Smart down at Georgia. Tighten up your kickoff. So you bring everybody. You got your 5 guys on each side. Bring them in tight. Bring them in like you're lining them up, maybe arm's length from each other, which will bring in that receiving team, and they'll all get tight in front of you. And then I just think you as a kicker, I mean, most of these guys have a background. You kick it a line drive and try to hit one of them. I think that's even better odds than
like a soccer kick.
Yeah, I mean, kick it right at them where, you're 10 yards away, 12 yards away. If you just strap it right at them, they're not going to catch it, but it's going to hit them or else they'll get out of the way. And at that point, you're not going to get the ball, obviously, get out of the way. But if you tighten them up, those guys are not really, they're looking at who they need to block, and they'll take a look at that ball. But if you come in and shoot it right at them, you might get a deflection. I just don't see the success rate going any higher on the traditional onside kick that they have now. The bounces are all good, but you just got it's just very hard to do. Just very hard to get that recovery at that point.
I like that strategy, though.
Yeah. But what is the best kick of your life?
Wow. The best kick of my life as a Chicago Bear, I think it would be the 52-yarder that we hit up in Green Bay. I think it was back in '87. They hadn't beaten us since the Super Bowl, and they went up. Al Del Greco hit a late field goal up there, and that place was going absolutely crazy. And I remember Matt coming over and just said, "Get ready." And I said, "I'm ready." And they moved it down the field. I think McKinnon made a big catch, and we got down there, and Tom Zach, we went out there for the field goal, and Forrest Gregg was the coach. He called a timeout, and it was really key for that because it was a muddy field that day. It was bad, and me and Mike just started making like mud pie back there and kind of smoothing out an area. It really helped us because it was a tough area. It was around the 42-yard line, so it had been worked on all day by the players out there. It was pretty tore up, but snuck that one in. And as I say, you could have heard a piece of cheese drop up there at that point. So it was that was a big kick. And anytime you can do that, it was young in my career. That was a big one because I knew it was a hard-fought game. As a kicker, you do that, and you know how hard Tom and Walter and everybody played that day, and to be able to help them pull it out, that gives me a good memory. I've got that one framed too.
Hey, should we talk about your superstitions? The 5 pieces of Hubba Bubba stacked up in your locker. The shoelaces changed.
Wow.
Kevin was, Jeff, one of the more superstitious players, as much as McMichael, as much as myself, but a routine that was gamely done. And so why don't you explain a little bit more?
Well, I'd start it with, I'd clean my shoes. I'd have my shoes out there, and they were my nice soccer cleats. And so I'd clean them. I'd have to put new shoestrings in every game. I had banana Bubblicious. I had three packs. I would eat 5 pieces in pregame, come back in, spit that out. I'd go out in the first half. I'd eat 5 pieces at once. And then at halftime, I'd eat 5 more pieces. So that was very hard to find banana Bubblicious. In fact, my brother found it somewhere and gave me a big pack of it for my last birthday, which was pretty funny. But then, the one thing I always did was if I ever came in the locker room, I would have to change my socks. So I would change my socks. Gary Hager and Tony Medlin, they were great. They'd have me 3 pairs of socks. And, I'd have one for warm up. I'd have one for the first half, and I'd have one for the second half. And, I think what it really was, and, Tom mentioned a lot of guys do have routines. Kickers, we have a lot more time, so we probably have more than anybody else. But it's a routine. It gets you mentally in tune with where you're at, what you're doing. It's kind of that trigger that gets you focused. And, as a kicker, you have a lot of downtime, so you kind of challenge yourself to stay focused. And I think that's really where I developed all that stuff. So, the gum was from Georgia. I've been chewing that gum since my days at Georgia. And, if you couldn't find Bubblicious, I remember having my dad run around Nashville trying to find it because I didn't have any when we were playing Vandy one game. And, and I'm sitting there and now I'm starting to freak out going, is this really real? Am I really having an issue because there's not banana bubblicious in my locker? And of course, JoJo came through with it. He found some, everything worked out. But those kind of things, they were fun, but they were a must. There was no doubt about it. And Tom was exactly right. I think, you get into some crazy situations, but, the funniest thing that I ever did, kind of side story, is we go and we're in Detroit and I get to my locker in pregame and I'm looking around, I'm going, well, where the hell are my shoulder pads? and come to find out, I didn't pack my shoulder pads.
No.
And I'm like, oh, and they go, well, we'll give you, you can wear one. I go, I can't wear those. Those are huge. I said, mine are fake shoulder pads. So Steve's like, well, Deborah's there. She's flying over with Jim Belushi. He goes, she can run over there and get them. I said, please. So exactly what happens. And here comes in the locker room, here comes Belushi walking in with my shoulder pads on. Is anybody missing some shoulder pads? I'm like, thank goodness. Thank goodness. So I got those shoulder pads, but thank you for Deborah and Jim Belushi that day. They brought me my shoulder pads.
The amazing thing, I've never heard that story, so I don't know if many people have, but even the kicker had the big personality and was so popular on that team, and it carried through the rest of your career. The one bar on the helmets and the rolled up sleeves and the tackling on special on kick coverage. Were you the perfect fit for the Bears for that era?
Looking back, Jeff, I think I was. I mean, because and a dear friend of mine and all of us is Bob Thomas, and Bob came off of that season, his best season. I mean, he was 85%, I think, that year before, and I'm getting drafted by them, and I'm like, what am I doing here? Well, you got a good kicker, you got an 11-year veteran, but I think they wanted to change. They wanted to change. Buddy. I think Buddy really wanted to change more. I know that Bob missed a field goal in that championship game out in San Francisco at the beginning of the game. And, whether that was the thing that made them think they needed to change, it gave me an opportunity. And, it went down to that last cut. And I loved being the guy I was on the team because I was a football player growing up. And, whether it was at practice, I'd jump in line with the offensive linemen. I would go with the DBs and be their quarterback. I wanted to just hang with these guys. I mean, these guys were my heroes, and I was part of it at that point. And I wanted to prove my worth. And I think the guys got more of a kick out of me rolling my sleeves up. They're the ones that had to help me roll the sleeves up. Hell, I didn't know how to even roll the sleeve up. It was. The one thing that concerned me was I had orange on, and I cut my sleeves for a while. Most of my career, I'd cut my sleeves up to the top stripe of on my jersey after I kind of quit rolling them up. And the whole thing was, all of my enemies in college are orange. So it's Tennessee, it's Florida, it's Auburn, Clemson. And, I look at them now when they come out in those total orange uniforms. I'm saying I'd have to cut my ass. I don't know if I could do that. So, and it was, but, rolling up the sleeves and making tackles, I didn't, it wasn't, I was trying to do it, consciously. It was just you're in a football game, and I played football, and the guys breaking through, you go and stop them and tackle. And my soccer background certainly helped me with angles and all that kind of stuff.
Hey, Bears fans, Steinhoffel's a proud partner of the Chicago Bears. This Bears season, Steinhoffel's is partnering with Special Spaces Illinois to create dream bedrooms for children battling cancer. For every false start caused by the Bears defense during a home game, Steinhoffel's donates $1,000 to Special Spaces Illinois. Shop in-store and online at steinhoffels.com. Tommy?
Two things I remember about that season, Butthead, is I was the one that rolled your sleeves up the first time because I I was doing all the offensive linemen before pregame. And I remember going out there, and John Madden made a comment about you. I go, what kicker rolls his sleeves up to show his arms? So that was one funny thing. And then another funny thing, Joniak, is Kevin and I were incoming first-year players together on the 85 team. And every single practice at training camp, we would have to get dressed as if we were going to a game. I mean, we were spatted up. Every one of our knuckles were taped. Our hands were taped. Our jerseys were tucked in. They were tight, air filled up. As that's the type of practice and I used to tell Kevin, I love you, but I hate you, because he's the first time I saw a kicker that would go out in shorts, go out in untied gym shoes if he wasn't kicking that day, and throw on those potato chip shoulder pads, that one bar. And I used to just kind of be envious and angry all at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Envious that I wasn't a kicker, but angry that I was going out to practice dressed like I was, and Kevin and McMahon would go out there, and there's a lot of famous shots of them two sitting on their helmets together at practice. And but that was like my introduction to the NFL, because you didn't, just things and styles and everything was changed. And it's less like McMichael coming over to me and saying, hey, Tommy, make sure that you're taped up today, because I got some stuff I need to work on. He was just giving you that forewarning of, hey, I'm bringing it today. So
I'm bringing it. Yeah.
Be ready.
It really was.
Because this is going to be a live situation.
Yeah. It was always, a great opportunity out there. And, in those days, I knew my most important thing was to be a good water boy, and to make sure that those offensive linemen, if they needed water, I'd get water. I'd bring them whatever they did. If they, I remember Van Horn going, "But get over, get in front of me in line. I need a breather." So I'd run through the ropes, and Dick stands there, go, "What do you need to get out of here, bud? You don't need to be here." Trying to give these guys a little break.
How do you tell a cashier you're a Bears fan without telling them you're a Bears fan? With the Chicago Bears PNC Bank Visa debit card, which gets you exclusive discounts on Bears merchandise. Find out more at pnc.com/BearsCard.
Give me the top three guys that you were excited to see at the 40-year reunion.
Maury Buford was good to see. I hadn't seen him in a long time. Got to spend a little bit more time with Tom Zach. I haven't seen Mike in a long time, and that was a lot of fun. And you, Tom, it's always fun to see.
Right,
you.
Besides me.
It was good. To be honest with you, to see one of the people I was most surprised to see was Nancy McMahon was there, and I think we all probably babysat at some point Jim's kids for him. Right. I know I did. And, those kind of people that took you under our first year there, Nancy and Jim were gracious to me. They, I'd get a home cooked meal every time. Seeing Kenny Marjoram was just
Marjoram, Wilbur Marshall, Sean Gale, just guys like that you haven't seen in such a long time, and what a great group of guys, what a close knit team. And, I'm glad that we are a team before cell phones and social media, because all of our friendships were so deeply developed because we couldn't go outside the building to talk to anybody, that we are always talking to our teammates and whoever you lockered next to. And it was a great existence.
Yeah, it really is, and I've been, involved with the University of Georgia for 18 years now, and, you do see a lot of that. And I agree with you, Tom. We were very, very lucky to have the friendships that we had, to build them, to be together that long. You get guys that, you're coming and going every year, and, we had the bulk of that team together for a long time. And, 11 years later, there was nobody else left there. And, I was kind of the last man standing. And, it was different, and certainly different now. You're so right. These guys have so much outside influence. They're so concerned with everything outside of that locker room that I think that's a disadvantage. You just said it. I mean, what happened in that locker room, only we know about it, and that's the way it should have been. It was a close-knit group, and I think that's really what made us as good as we were. To be able to fight for each other, to understand what guys go through. You knew the families, you knew the kids. I mean, kids now, if you go up to them and look at them, you have to say, hey, quit looking at your phone. Look at me when I'm talking to you, that kind of stuff. So it was as they say, the best of times.
Good news, Chicago United Airlines is getting brand new planes with all the bells and whistles like Bluetooth connectivity, screens at every seat, and room for everyone's roller bag. United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears, and you too. True or false, you kicked a practice kick 78 yards at Georgia?
I did.
Wow. On a tee or off a tee?
On the tee.
Okay.
On the tee, yeah.
It doesn't matter, 78 yards.
I'll admit it now. The wind was at my back.
How many step approach did you take?
I was just regular kick, regular field goal kick.
Okay.
So what you're seeing now with even in college, my guy at Iowa State had a big one in the week one. Yeah. Aubrey at Dallas, the 65-yarder by Chase McLaughlin last weekend at Tampa Bay, NFL record for outdoor 65-yard kick. Have we flown to Mars now? Have we? I mean, the outer reaches of the solar system. Where does it end? And are coaches going to have more faith in the kick? And why? What's the why? Why is the distance so much greater now?
Well, and that's a great question, Jeff. I try to figure it out. I get asked about it a lot. My son also kicked in the league, and he let me in on a thing. There's a new kicking ball rule. So now, as I understand it, the kicker can actually have that ball with him for 2 games in a row. That's an advantage. I think, being able to break a ball in, to be able to have that ball, get it a little bit thicker, rounder, is going to add distance. There's no doubt about it. But what these guys are doing now, I think that I relate it a lot to golf. If you learn how to swing a golf club at a young age, you're going to be better. And guys are learning how to kick properly, and they're really breaking it down and doing it the right way. When I learned how to kick, I was trying to emulate a guy named Steve Little, who was at Arkansas, who went on and kicked in the NFL a little bit. He was an athlete. He played all kinds of stuff in Shawnee Mission out in Kansas. And, you did a lot of emulating, and my dad was out there with me. So, the kicking coach really came a little bit more for me into college. And then certainly I had Gary Zahner, that worked with us at the Bears, and that helped. But I think that's probably the 2 things, just kids learning how to kick and using the right tools. They look so effortless. Aubrey looks effortless when he kicks. I've always thought that Robbie Gould was probably one of the most effortless looking kickers that was very successful. I mean, very good. And he just had that smooth swing and the ball would jump off the foot. So that's kind of what I see in these guys now. My whole theory on field goals is, and the NFL should do this. I don't know why they haven't yet. If you want, if you're 50 yards and out and you need 4 points to win the game, you just tell the refs, say, we want to try a 4-pointer, and then all of a sudden the dang goalpost starts flashing, and it just tightens to maybe 6 to 8 feet, slides in, and that's now the new field goal for you want more points, you got to kick it even straighter. Wow. I just think they keep trying to do away with certain things in the kicking game. I think and that's a good way to do it, to keep the foundation of the game solid. But people want to see scoring. People want to see new things. I mean, I really think that the goalpost should start sliding in, and you can say I want a 4-footer. I mean, if you're down under 40 yards, tighten that thing up. These guys are very good, and it gives the fans some fun things to watch. And
Tom, Butthead's been in the lab. I mean, you can patent that thing. Wow.
All right, let me one more question for me, Butthead. And so the punting game. Do you like the variety of punts that punters practice, or would you rather have a punter be consistent about kicking one punt?
That's a good question. You know, I've been working with Brett Thorson, big Australian kid down at Georgia, and his problem, and he's so strong and big, and he kicks the Aussie kick. He can kick them over. He can do all that. But I try to get him to be consistent, just like you're talking about, Tom. I think the consistency in the old traditional punter is very important to consistently make the kicks. I mean, you see some of these guys now, they're so strong. They'll step to the right and kick that ball all the way across the field to the left. And you start, we saw how many punt returns have we seen this year in the NFL?
Yeah.
I mean, I think this past week we had 3 or 4. So you're out kicking your coverage. Hang time and direction is the most important thing. Guys talk about it. Well, you get a backward spin. Most of these guys can catch the ball when down there. The most important thing is knowing where that ball is going to be kicked to and making sure your guys are on the same page and they can cover it. So you can outsmart yourself punting, just like you're asking. Is there so many different punts to have? Do you need different punts? No. What you could use every time is 45-yard net and no return. There's not a better punt out there unless you go 55-yard net. It just, the no return yards is the key, I think.
All right. We'll wrap up with a list of greatness right here. 144 points as a rookie with the Bears. 31 field goals. 3 field goals in the Super Bowl. A champion in 85. A 2-time second-team All-Pro. College Football Hall of Fame inductee. The first kicker ever. A consensus All-American at Georgia. He was a 4th-rounder of the Bears. Number 70 on the Bears' all-time 100 list. He mentioned the Packers field goal, the 52-yarder, his time expired. And then you finished in the top 50, and I right now you're in the top 50 of all-time scorers, regardless of position in NFL history. I don't think that gets mentioned enough. That's significant math right there, and a tip of the cap to a great career and a lot of great memories, and the personality and the kindness that you bring to Chicago every time you're in town is exemplary. So what a great you had a great football life, Kevin, and it clearly still going on, helping out other kickers as they rise through the ranks and doing your work on the Georgia Radio Network.
Well, I appreciate it, Jeff, and I am very proud of that stuff. But I know as all athletes say, I couldn't have done it without all my teammates. I mean, I've been very blessed from Little League, Pop Warner, to won the Pop Warner Bowl. We won state championship in high school. Got to play for championships in college, and certainly the Bears championship was the crowning on everything. But you can't do that without having great coaches and great players around you, and I really have been blessed by that. It's probably the worst years of my football career were probably close to the end when I was out in Arizona. We just weren't that good, and that wasn't fun for me because I like to win. I like to go out there and to win and to see everybody in that locker room having a great time. And I was very, very blessed to be up here in Chicago. I wouldn't choose any other place to play. And I was thrilled, the McCaskey family and what they did for Tom and me and the rest of our teammates on this reunion was a blessing also, to be able to come back and see everybody. And I wouldn't trade my days in Chicago for anything.
The coat that you guys all received, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It puts you in a whole different club.
Well, it really does, and it's as good as the Hall of Fame jackets and everything you get. I mean, you get recognized, and I'll go down always saying that this was the greatest football team in NFL history. And the one game we lost, we never thought about going undefeated. I think Tom would agree with that. We talked about winning the Super Bowl, and that was our goal, and we accomplished it.
Wearing number 6, kicking the ball for the Bears. Kick off your game day with Blue Moon. Every sip of Blue Moon's Belgian-style wheat ale, crafted with Valencia orange peel and coriander, is a winning drive for your taste buds. Celebrate responsibly, Chicago. Kevin, can't thank you enough. Appreciate your time, and best of luck.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Tom.
For Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak, and our guest, Kevin Butler. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please subscribe now on the Chicago Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bear down, everybody.